Hi everyone, my name is Paine and I am curating a series of really interesting conversations under the banner of Creativity Reframed with a whole bunch of really interesting global business and creative leaders to talk about something that's really important to me and which I've found really valuable through COVID, which is that idea of problem solving and how do we as society use creativity in a really interesting way to help get us through this. In our session today, we have a really great friend of mine and somebody that I had the pleasure of working with for a very long time with at Nintendo, my good friend Rob Lowe, who joins us today from Lego Ventures, where Rob has got a fantastic role as a member of the senior leadership team. And Rob's going to join me in a conversation and we're going to hear his own personal perspectives around how he's found creativity during this crisis. So hello, Rob.
Hi,
Nice to
Dawn.
have you joining us today. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to
So
be here.
just to perhaps kick things off, it might be useful actually for everybody who's listening to understand a little bit about what you do at Lego Ventures, what you guys are up to.
Sure, no problem. Lego Ventures is a relatively new entity as part of the broader Lego group. It sits outside of the core Lego company and actually under the family office. Lego is still a family-owned company. Our job is to investigate and then potentially invest in or even acquire in some cases companies that are doing interesting things in the world of learning through play that are beyond the core Lego brick. So the Lego family very much believe in the idea of people and kids and anyone learning through playful activities, and that learning shouldn't be kind of quite so need to be a structured format or a test-driven format, that kind of learning can happen in any scenario. So we're exploring all the different avenues of that. So obviously the core brick is what Lego has been most famous for, and has successfully turned into a huge business and an amazing product. But I think, you can think of many other examples of similar concepts to Lego that go beyond the brick into the digital space, into education, into gaming. And our job is to investigate those, find out kind of what we believe the future of that is going to be, and then make sure that Lego is playing a role in that future.
Fantastic. And I guess in terms of if we kind of look at the lens of kind of COVID, Rob, how are you kind of coping with it, both personally and from a business perspective?
Personally, I think, I'm probably luckier than most. I have three children, three girls who are 10, 8, and 5. They have more Lego than they ever need to know what to do with. So they're very lucky in that sense. So we have plenty for them to get on with. We have a house and a garden. So, I think, you do kind of find certain flashpoints that are stressful, and homeschooling and balancing that with work is always difficult. I think we've found our kind of the right mix to be not getting too focused on the schoolwork. Our kids moved back from Denmark to the UK a couple of years ago, and the Danish school system, which I believe is an excellent system, doesn't push the kids as hard as or as early as the UK one. So they already had like a year and a half of schoolwork to catch up with when they came from Denmark to the UK. And I don't, it's not that they're particularly gifted or anything. They just didn't find it that hard, or as hard as we thought it was going to be for them to catch up. So I'm not so worried about the kids missing out on a few months of school. And I don't feel like, we're not teachers, we're not trained as teachers. So we will do what we can to keep their brains moving and do some maths and do some English. But at the end of the day, they will go back hopefully in September time, and they will catch up very quickly and adapt. And kids are super adaptable. So, on a personal level, we're coping fine. Thank you. On a business level, it's very interesting. I think Lego has found that over the COVID period, a lot of families are looking for activities to do with their kids, and that building Lego sets is one of the best activities for that kind of cross-generational nutritious play, if you like, together.
Yeah.
So I think Lego's found that a lot of new people are coming into the Lego brand and the Lego product over this period, which has been great. I think the main challenge has been adapting our operations to cope with obviously a large amount of e-commerce transactions happening in a short amount of time. So it's obviously an overall movement of bricks and mortar to e-commerce that's happening gradually over time. This has accelerated that significantly. So we had to do, and I think Lego did an amazing job of adapting to that and being able to get Lego into the hands of the families that really wanted it. From a Lego Ventures perspective, it's a little different. Most of the investment world has kind of hit pause on their investment plans over the COVID period, just to see how things plan out. There are still some investors who are investing right now, and there are obviously opportunities to be had with businesses that need support during this period. I think we're lucky in that our portfolio is largely centered around education and gaming, which are two areas that are really seeing an uptick over COVID. Home education, digital B2C kind of platforms are really seeing an improvement. But I think the key is, yes, it's easier to acquire customers in this period, and a lot of companies are offering free kind of access to otherwise paid channels. But keeping those customers is going to be interesting. Like, what will the retention of them be like? Once the free period is over, will they stay around? I think that's going to be an interesting challenge. And obviously gaming has benefited massively from having a lot of kids at home. And also, the idea that kids socialize equally at school and in Fortnite has now shifted very much towards just Fortnite.
100%,
yeah. So that idea of, which we're really interested in Lego Ventures, of this kind of almost this metaverse, this virtual universe existing where people can socialize and meet and watch content and play games. It feels like that's been accelerated as well over this period, the acceptance of that being a way of socializing. So that's also something that we're interested in, more from a creative lens, like how can you mix that with a world that's also populated by user-generated content as well. So I think both digital gaming and education have largely benefited from the period that we're in. But from an investment point of view, we are also kind of pausing until probably end of summer. And we see kind of where the world is going next.
Sure. But it's quite interesting, Rob, isn't it? Some of the stuff you're touching on there. I love that definition, by the way, of cross-generational nutritious play. I don't know whether that's a Lego phrase or that's a Rob Lowe phrase, but I like it anyway.
I think it was a Nintendo phrase.
And I think that then juxtaposed with that kind of idea of the metaverse and that kind of really kind of digitally kind of connected, always on world. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's that fusion of the kind of the humanity and the tech piece of almost very traditional family values, because families coming together, hanging out together more, being sat potentially around the television more, but at the same time, it being done in a very 21st century, almost kind of futuristic way with all of that kind of digital wrapped around it. It's really interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You've got like almost like two extremes happening, increasing at the same time. Like you say, the kind of the physical reconnection of the family, kind of forced. Yeah. But I don't know about you, but if I had to sit with my family kind of 10 hours of the day without being able to go and do something else, I'd probably go crazy.
Yeah.
But it is so much nicer to be able to spend more time connecting, and then the ability to connect virtually in a much more meaningful way. And I think the reduction of the stigma that is attached to it. I think, a lot of parents probably see Fortnite as something that the time must be limited on. It's addictive. It's, I allow it because my child wants to do it. But maybe a lot of them are realizing now that actually it's just a great way for kids to connect with their friends. So it's not just a waste of time. It's actually somewhere where they can experience similar to what they experience in the playground or the schoolyard in a virtual sense, which is actually a massive benefit right now.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I've noticed, and this is obviously more around Lego than Lego Ventures, it is also obviously some of that lovely communication that you guys have been putting out. I saw the really cute Batman piece, which was about kind of stay at home. I don't know whether that was global or whether that was UK specific or not. But again, just some of that really kind of lovely, quite light-hearted communication, because I think one of the other important things, I guess, in all the scary times that we're in at the moment is actually being able to do those things which are just really fun and kind of can almost get your head in a completely different place when we're all, partially scared.
Yeah, I think it's really important for brands like Lego that are very trusted and are they almost have a responsibility in this period to help people through it.
Yeah.
And Lego takes it really seriously. Yeah, I agree. I think some of the content that our marketing and our internal agency have put out over this period has been kind of fantastic. It always makes me smile or laugh when I look in my Facebook feed and there's something else in there.
Yeah.
They're doing a great job.